Hey, sports fans. Today we're going to take a look at the best players in Alabama Crimson Tide history. Out of the long list of Crimson Tide players, we're going to whittle it down for you to just 10 players. But before we get into our list, do me a favor. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to our channel. All done? All right, good. Let's get on to the list. Number 10, Cornelius Bennett. Alongside another player on the list, Cornelius Bennett means you're a big part of the school's folklore and have reached legendary status. Bennett was a linebacker who played football with the type of tenacity you cannot teach. In his senior year, he racked up 10 sacks and an eye-popping 6 forced fumbles. His season was good enough with the Lombardi Trophy, of course. Cornelius Bennett was the best linebacker in the 1987 draft, which was considered the year of the linebacker. Bennett, the second overall pick that year, was considered head and shoulders above the rest. Number 9, Don Hutson. He played in a time where it was hard to really measure and appreciate how great he truly was. He was a pioneer at the wide receiver position with his route running at a time where the concept was pretty new. He was also one of the first known for catching the ball in traffic, something which Hutson was said to be great at. While shining at wide receiver for the Crimson Tide from the early to mid-30s, Hutson was considered a must-see athlete, and fans would hitchhike and travel long distances just to watch this dude play. Hutson was dominant, and this was in a time where there weren't really standouts at the wideout position. The best way to describe Hutson may be from an excerpt from his college football Hall of Fame profile. Wondrously elusive with the fake, inventive in his patterns, and magnificently at ease when catching the ball. A former coach also spoke very highly of Hutson. All Don Hutson can do is beat you with clever hands and the most baffling change of pace I have ever seen. In other words, Hutson was a problem to cover and a big reason why the Crimson Tide were national title winners back in 1934. Number 8, Mark Ingram. Yeah, you can't leave this guy off the list after he was Bama's first Heisman Trophy winner, and he had one of the best years in the school's history during his sophomore campaign. He was unanimous first-team All-American running back and totaled 20 touchdowns. A constant force on the Tide's offense, he had 9 100-yard games, and he helped Bama win the title that year. Ingram was the game's offensive MVP. He followed up his Heisman campaign with a respectable season, but unfortunately, injuries hampered his opportunity, and that would leave him shy of the season that landed him on this list. Number 7. Before Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, and Julio Jones, there was a wide receiver by the name of Ozzie Newson. Before, Newsom, also known as the Wizard of Oz, would go on to be known as one of the best tight ends in NFL history. He was one of the best wide receivers in Alabama's history. He held several school records and was named Alabama's Player of the Decade for the 1970s. He was known for being a sure-handed receiver who was great in all phases of the game, including as a blocker. Newsom was regarded as a leader, an essential piece of Alabama's winning ways during his time with the Tide. Number 6, Minkah Fitzpatrick is as decorated as they come for a defensive back at the collegiate level. The two-time All-American was a recipient of the Chuck Bednarik Award and Jim Thorpe Award. He's also a two-time national champion with more than just trophies to fill his case. Fitzpatrick has the longest interception return for a touchdown in school history, and he's tied for the most interceptions in a game and career interceptions returned for touchdowns. Minkah was extremely sticky in coverage and was an excellent tackler. He also played well near the line of scrimmage and would occasionally blitz quarterbacks and disrupt backfields like a linebacker. Fitzpatrick was a Swiss Army knife on defense for the Tide, and a large reason why they were two-time national champions while he was at the school. Number 5. Before Amari Cooper came and rewrote the wide receiver record books at Alabama, there was Julio Jones' junior year, where he racked up an Alabama record, 78 catches, 1,133 yards, and his 7 touchdowns. That was good enough for 4th in Crimson Tide history. Coming off what many considered a sophomore slump for Julio, he solidified himself as one of the nation's top wide receiver threats and capped off a strong career with the Tide with an exclamation point. Julio isn't higher on this list because not all the seasons were as strong as his final one. And in Julio's defense, Alabama wasn't throwing the ball as much as they do now. And Julio was one of the first of the trend of Crimson Tide NFL-ready wide receivers that have since come after him. Number 4, when it comes to Joe Namath, When coming up with the best way to measure Joe, the athlete, sometimes you have to throw out the numbers. Joe Namath never had video game-like stats. His 25 touchdowns to 19 interceptions were just above average at best. But what Joe was good at could only be measured in wins and losses, and losing wasn't something that Joe did often. He led the Crimson Tide to a 29-4 record under Bear Bryant, who claimed that Namath was the best athlete he'd ever seen. Number 3. Saying Amari Cooper was a stud at Bama may be putting it a little bit too lightly. When Cooper was on the field, he was producing at levels never seen at Alabama before him and haven't been seen since. His career catches, yards, and touchdowns rank as first in Alabama history. In his final year with the Crimson Tide, Cooper racked up over 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns. Cooper's numbers would be good enough for a third in the Heisman race, although he did bring home the Biletnikoff Award for the nation's best receiver. His 128 receptions were good enough for an SEC record and catapulted Cooper into contention for one of the best college receiving seasons of all time. Amari Cooper was viewed as a pro-ready receiver playing out his final year of college football, and that's exactly what it looked like. Amari was uncoverable for most of the season, and had Bama not been leading so comfortably so often that year, there's a chance that his numbers could have been even better. Number 2. In Derrick Henry's 2015 Heisman season, the running back not only ran his way into the record books, but also was the first to take home all 3 of the major Player of the Year awards: the Heisman, the Walter Camp, and the Maxwell. He also won the Doak Walker Award for Best Running Back. Before Derrick Henry, no Bama player had ever taken home more than one major award. His 2,219 yards rushing destroyed Alabama's single-season record by 540 yards, and his 10 100-yard games were also a school record. Henry was as unstoppable as they've ever come at the college level, and as far as the Crimson Tide goes, it was one of the best, if not the best offensive seasons ever put together in the school's storied history. And number 1 on the list of the top 10 players in Alabama Crimson Tide history, we all saw what Derrick Thomas was as a pro for the Kansas City Chiefs. A menace on defense, able to wreak havoc on backfields and quarterbacks. A sideline-to-sideline terror who tackled and sacked his way to Canton. Before Thomas was a heat-sinking missile for the Chiefs, he was an All-American linebacker at Alabama, and he set the bar at his position alongside fellow Alabama great Cornelius Bennett. At Alabama, Thomas's 52 sacks were the most in school history by miles. In fact, his single-season record of 27 sacks in 1988 was more than number 2 on the all-time sack list. His second-best season was also second in school history. In 1988, Thomas's season was good enough to put him in Heisman contention and have him widely regarded as the best defensive player in college. His sack totals weren't just the best in school history, but NCAA history, and still stands 32 years after Thomas took his talents to the National Football League. Sports fans, that's it for our list. 10 of Alabama's best spanning decades of football greatness. What did you think of our list? Anything we got wrong? Let us know down in the comments, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and like this video and hit subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on our latest football content. Until next time, take care.